What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. And if you're watching me on YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I'm just recording this episode because I have had a crazy weekend here in Tulum, which is also why my vlog is taking a little bit longer than expected because I have an idea for the vlog and I have this like theme that I want to create. I'm stretching my creative muscles right now. All right, keep that in mind. And I have this idea, but because Tulum is such a portal for me and everything happens at just like rapid speed. Also, my Jupiter line is currently transiting through Tulum, so I'm feeling all of the things. Like every morning, afternoon, or evening, something happens where I'm like, wait, I gotta put that in the vlog because I'm so excited to like have this channel to show you more of behind the scenes of my life, right? My vlog's not gonna have my podcast voice. It's gonna have my raspy good morning, last night was crazy voice. And there's just so many different parts of me that I'm excited to share. So, anyway, that's why the vlog is taking a little bit longer. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. So you can do so in time for when this like masterpiece of my first, it's going to be glued together, like duct taped together. And I'm really excited about it. I'm going to play with my editing tools. Like it's fun to have a creative outlet and a creative project. And I actually talk about that in my vlog as well about creativity and how hard it's actually been for me because of the fact that my entire career, or rather the last like 7, 8 years of my career, have been dedicated to creating content specifically to sell, right, for my business. And now here I am just existing and being like, you guys, I have things to say. I want to share my life with you. It's different, right? So I'm excited for that to come out. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Um, and so without further ado, let's dive into today's Girl Be Bold podcast episode. This is one of those episodes that feels like a girlfriend, like girl talk. It feels like the kind of conversation you should be having with your girlfriends. And if you're not having these conversations, let me be your girlfriend. Let's have this girl talk because it's one of those things that like we don't talk about enough, right? And I'm very grateful for the girls that I have in my life because we are so brutally like raw and vulnerable with one another that we can talk about these things, right? Like we feel, you know, comfortable like sharing the ugly, right? The ugly kind of like, man, like I'm feeling this thing and I have a little bit of shame around this, right? And so this is kind of my point for the Girl Be Bold podcast. I want to have these conversations. And if you're not having them, for this to be a place to have them, right? Because they're so real. Today, we're going to be talking about comparison and, ultimately, like how overwhelming it is in our life. I was thinking about this. Like, I'm very grateful. I have a son who's, 13. I was thinking about being a girl at that age and like what girls are navigating now with like social media. And essentially, you are being bombarded with opportunities to compare yourself and feel not worthy, right? And feel like, not as pretty of like, I mean, everyone's getting, first of all, there's filters, yes, but also, with all of the treatments that everyone's getting, like it is blowing my mind how freaking beautiful everyone is on the internet, right? Whereas I think back to being, a teenager, and I graduated in 2004, and I'm definitely dating myself, but that's okay because I'm 38. And I think back to that time of my life, and it's like, yeah, we had magazines, right? We had movie stars and things, but we weren't constantly bombarded, other than like the popular girl at school or like whatever. It was pretty limited, right? Now it's like we're scrolling and it's just constant and constant. So all of our insecurities are brought up to the surface. And, I had this really interesting experience. Being in Tulum is a freaking stretch, I will tell you, because I've personally done so much work on like my self-love and self-acceptance. And I had a lot of trouble with that because, I was bullied very, very intensely growing up. Like, and I'm not just like saying I would walk into a room and someone would crack a joke and people would laugh. Like I had food thrown at me. I had coins and money thrown at me down a hallway. I got slapped in front of my school. I had rumors about me waiting for me at a school before I even got there, right? So I had a lot of work to do on my self-confidence, on like my self-acceptance. And, someone would look at me and say, well, Kiara, you look the way you do. Why aren't you more confident? And it's like, because it has literally nothing to do with what you look like. This is also why we see, sometimes we see women going so deep into plastic surgery that they no longer resemble themselves. And I am a fan. I am a big fan of plastic surgery, of enhancements. Like, you do you, you do what you got to do. I'm 100% for like playing with the avatar and all of that. But I think we all can see like when someone goes too far. So it literally has nothing to do with that, because I've seen like beautiful women who are already beautiful aesthetically from the outside. It's just like a DNA roulette, right? Because I've also been personally, I am not gay. However, I have been incredibly like drawn to women who wouldn't necessarily be seen as, traditionally or conventionally gorgeous or pretty, or like put them on a cover of a magazine. But the way that they carried themselves and their confidence, it made them like irresistible. Like, I was like, wait, hold on, I need like more of this, right? So it literally has nothing to do with that. It's all internalized stuff. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about why this happens. I'm going to talk about also three things and three kind of solutions or steps that you can take to kind of unravel from this comparison spiral. This is making you feel less than, not good enough, not as good as, like whatever it is. And the reason that I wanted to record this episode specifically here in Tulum, as I was saying, is because Tulum has like the most beautiful women I have ever seen. It is literally like, if you are a beautiful, free spirited, gorgeous, glowing, goddess of a woman, come to Tulum, dance like no one is watching. I mean, I'm watching these women on the dance floor and it is extraordinary. Like, it is literally like a masterpiece to watch, right? However, being human, it's like totally normal to walk into that and be like, holy smokes, like these women are gorgeous. Like, and again, out of this world gorgeous, right? And it's normal to kind of feel like, well, what about me? Like, well, will I be, all of these little thoughts that come in when you're walking into a situation. And this is something that I think we think about as well when we're like scrolling through social media. We also think about this specifically if you have a personal brand, right? You're selling online, you are creating, a persona, like a character online, you're creating content. And you might also be selling, like being an entrepreneur, maybe a coach, maybe, I don't know, you're selling something. And you're looking around in your industry and everyone looks like they've got their shit together. Their branding is put together, right? They're gorgeous, they're flawless, they're looking like they know their shit. Like, this is, by the way, a little parentheses. This is why I'm so adamant about showing you guys the behind the scenes of like the truth of my journey, of like when things have been really hard, when I've navigated, I shared on my Substack, like, versions of me that had shame around unraveling from, right? Like, the reality of, because you think everyone has their shit put together, when the reality is like so far away from that is absolutely like not it at all. But when you're scrolling and you're like, this person's probably making X amount of money, her brand is so put together, she's probably like filled out roster, she's probably having six-figure months, like whatever, and you're just in comparison. Well, look, her reel looks really good, her reel got 8K views, whatever, right? And so we're constantly in this comparison loop. So I have my little notes here. Let's dive into one, two, three, four, five reasons why we tend to do this. And then we'll dive into the three steps, three things, solution to fucking unravel from this so we can free ourselves and liberate ourselves and live our fucking life. Because here's the thing. We know that comparison is the thief of joy, but in my mind, comparison is the thief of life, okay? It takes away the experience of enjoying and loving life and being present for life because you're so fucking worried about everything that's going on around you that you are missing the magic and the moment that's happening there. You're thinking, oh, all these guys are looking at this girl over here. And because of that, you're missing the one guy in the corner who's been locked in on you and like is about to come make a move. Why? Because you're so fucking tunnel vision on everything that's happening outside of you. We're not about that. We're not about that. So why do we do it? Reason number one, we confuse visibility for worth, okay? We believe that the loudest must be the most valuable. And we have this belief because of attention. We believe that whatever is able to grab attention is of value. So if somebody's over there and she's gorgeous, she walks in, maybe she's wearing something a little bit revealing, or maybe she's just walking in with a lot of confidence, and you see heads turn, she's getting that attention. And so because of that, we internalize the idea, right? We believe that somehow because she's being noticed, she is more valuable, right? Something that really helps me, and this is like, I don't know if anyone's like ever appreciated or loved like indie movies or anything like that. One of the things that I've always loved is like whenever there's a storyline about like a mysterious kind of like, maybe not necessarily like the poster child for beauty or popularity or whatever, but she'll be in like a club, she'll be in the corner and like a guy will notice her or whatever. And it's like this mystery about her that actually draws her in, right? And that's something that I've really appreciated around like studying and teaching magnetism in my work because of the fact that real attraction is not necessarily loud. Yes, somebody walks in butt naked, and I'm not saying the hot girl did, but maybe somebody walks in butt naked, like everyone's going to turn around and look, right? But it's the quality of that attention, right? And when I think about energetics and I think about like magnetism, and I taught this in my workshop, by the way, for those of you that did this, right? When I talk about magnetism, like the magnetic pole is actually very quiet because it's energetic and it's coming from a place of stability and sense of self and worth and, not giving a flying fuck because your energy is so stable that it becomes magnetic because it quiets down the frequency, right? It's easy to be attracted to something when it's nice and clear. And when a woman knows who she is, it is irresistible. It is absolutely irresistible because it translates so clearly. And that's what makes her magnetic. So the idea somehow that being, louder necessarily makes you more valuable is completely false, right? However, because we see it happen, we see all the little decks turn. That's what ends up happening. Or maybe on social media, we'll see engagement, we'll see or likes, we'll see comments. Like, let me tell you something. I will definitely put this on blast. I've been working with incredibly successful, right? And I put that in quotes for a reason, women my entire career. I've worked with seven-figure earners. I've worked with women who have had 500,000 followers online, like who have had massive followings and weren't making any money. Why? Because attention doesn't necessarily means it translates into success, right? And you would think so because she's posting certain things that are getting likes and attraction, etc. However, she's not making any money. And that's, I went through a significant time in my career helping women like that because it was, from a perspective, from the outside perspective, you would think like, oh my God, like they've got their shit together, but it's such an illusion because attention is just loud. It does not necessarily make you more valuable. In contrast, I've also helped women and I have had clients with like 1,000 followers who have built $500,000 businesses, right? Easy, like easy, right? This is the magic of it. So that's number one. Number two, we've internalized a scarcity. This is a big one. That there's only room for one chosen one, and every other woman becomes a threat instead of a mirror. I have had to do so much healing around my relationship with women, specifically because I was bullied a lot by them. So it's kind of like ironic that my life's work would end up going down to women empowerment and supporting women like thriving, oftentimes women even bigger and better and, more powerful than me. Like I had to do so much healing around that because there was so much of that. There was so much of that when my second boyfriend cheated on me with like 15 girls, right? 11 of which were my friends. And all these girls were like the prettier ones, right? The more popular ones. And here I was with my hair in my face and kind of like wearing weird outfits because I was experimenting with my looks. Like it was a very different kind of time of my life. But because of that, I built this wound and it took me so much like energy to heal this, right? But this idea, this concept of being chosen is so false. And there's a lot of us, many of us, and I'm raising like every limb as I say this, right, who have gone through some sort of heartbreak, some trauma where we were not chosen, where maybe a boy chose another girl over us, right, in a time that we were still developing our sense of self, and therefore created this gap, this wound. Will I ever be the chosen one? And when you walk into a party and everyone is gorgeous and like you see all the hot guys are looking at the other one, you're like, well, I'm definitely not getting chosen tonight, right? Or you put out your business online and you're so proud of your first program. And then you see that like another coach or some other creator puts out something very similar and gets 3 times the engagement, and she sells out before you can even open up your cart, right? It's such like a real thing, but it's so internalized. And what I hate about this is that it creates this like threat energy. And obviously like intersexual competition with women is a thing. It's fine. It's like natural. It's evolutionary. All right, right? And like as a society, we're working really powerfully towards like shifting that, right? Especially in this space, because there's nothing more powerful. I'm going to do a whole episode on the sisterhood wound, by the way, because I've done a lot of work and I've helped a lot of women heal this wound. Specifically, if you're in the online space or you're helping people, you've got to heal that. And this idea that somehow they're against you, right? Because they're just out there living their life and they're getting attention is such an illusion. It has nothing to do with the girl. It also has nothing to do with the girl, when the guy cheats on you with her. Like, this is about the guy, right? And so we want to have this awareness around this distortion, right? Around like threats, when the reality is that being witnessed and being connected to women is an incredibly powerful thing. And not to say that every woman is like an incredible human, right? However, like it gets to just be neutral, right? It gets to be neutral. So we'll talk about more about that in the solution piece. Number 3, I think we're doing great on time, pacing this. Number 3, we are conditioned to seek external validation. It's 2025, it's everywhere. So we measure our value based on how we stack up to others, right? And this is something that is inevitable. I feel like we have been put through boot camp, right? 2025, I can't imagine being a 16, 17-year-old navigating this landscape, right? Because I think back and it's like, holy smokes. But the reality is that no matter what age, we are constantly like feeling like we are in competition with others. Like, pay attention to me. Like, I want your attention. I want your view. I want your engagement. I want you to ask me out, not this person, right? And we're constantly in that. And so when we get the external validation, right? Because the one time we're chosen, or we get somebody says, hey, no, out of the crowd, like you're the vibe, you're the person that I want to work with, that like boosts our ego. And we're constantly searching for that. And we get into this state of like, now suddenly you're attending a party no longer to enjoy the music and meet cool people and fucking vibe it out, right? You're now attending a party to see how much attention you can get, and kind of essentially where you stand, right, stacked up against others. And we do this consistently. And as I've talked about so often on this show, the more we're doing something, the more it becomes part of the way we operate through life, right? We have all the neural pathways are building. Like, yeah, we now know that we've got to be hot shit when we go to a party, right? We've got to walk in and we're going to take stock right away of how many eyes, come in our way, right? Or we know that like the content we post has to fucking vibe. And so now everything becomes about how many views, how much attention, how many sales, whatever. And like poof goes all of the creative expression and the beauty of sharing yourself online, which is probably why I have had to, extreme pendulum the opposite way after such a long career, working in that kind of pocket of the world. But then what ends up happening is that we are consistently and constantly searching and seeking that external validation. And it's one of those things that is the thirst that can't be quenched, right? Because it's like there's always going to be a hotter guy to choose you, right? Well, okay, this guy chose me. Great. Maybe somebody else could choose me. You're constantly looking. Maybe you get 100 views on something. It becomes that it's not enough. It needs to be 500 because it's constant. It's one of those like, it doesn't actually nourish and feed you. We will talk about what does, but that doesn't, right? And number four, we are disconnected from our own essence. So we search for who we are by comparison. I have talked about this so many times, even through the lens of business, right? One of the things that I used to teach around developing a brand online is to not do it off the back of others, right? One of these strategies online is to say, well, if this person teaches X, Y, and Z, you want to choose me because I am the polar opposite. And I said, if you can't define who you are without it being in relation to somebody else, right? We've got a bigger problem, right? And it's the same when we are looking for who we are. We're trying to gauge where we stand. And again, it's natural, it's normal. We're a social animal. This is how we operate 100% fine, right? But without a sense of self or without the connection to who we are, right? We are going to constantly be seeking it outside of ourselves. And we don't want that to become the habit because, again, it's one of those thirsts that can't be quenched because you're not going to find yourself in others because that connection only happens at home with yourself, right? But again, we fall into these loops. It's this disconnect with our like home base, with our sense of self, with our not just confidence, but this knowing of who you are and what makes you you, which, by the way, is the most magnetic thing. This is also why you could see a super hot girl who has absolutely no sense of self, no connection. She might, for a moment, grab attention, right? Because damn, like DNA roulette winner, like you look stunning. Girl, what are you wearing? You look so fine. Your jeans and all that. Then you come there and she's insecure or she's not kind, right? Or she's empty, has no connection, no awareness, no judgment, right? But inevitably and naturally, that magnetism starts to kind of weigh. And this is why, in dating, I used to write when I was a super aggressive dating and relationship blogger, I used to always say that looks will grab, but personality will always keep. And that is the reality of attraction, right? And so having that sense of self, having that connection with yourself is such an important part because you are never going to find who you are through the lens of others, right? In comparison to, you might find little qualities. Okay, well, she's like this. I'm a little bit funny, or I'm a little bit this, I'm blah, 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 whatever. You might be like, okay, I kind of look like her. Okay, I kind of sound like her. Okay, I could kind of maybe create content like her, right? But like copying and pasting is not you. Anyway, you can try, you could put on the outfit, but it's not you, right? And guess what? Attraction is felt. We feel that. And that's where we feel really disconnected and we just keep the loop going over and over and over again. Okay. Number five, we carry old wounds from exclusion or rejection. And I think this is really where it stems from, you know, because if we weren't chosen, if, even in business too, and I remember navigating this the first time I was navigating it, I started my business in 2017 and I got successful very quickly. And so, I had to kind of navigate all the humanness around that and learn because growing in business is not just about the money that you make, despite what many will tell you. And I had to navigate those feelings of like, okay, the first time a client made more money than me, right? Or the first time that I was like so like sure that somebody was going to sign and work with me only to receive the novel, response that they've actually opted to go with another coach, right? Or somebody would say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, whatever. And then a week later, I would see them post that they were working with someone else. I had to navigate all of that because there were so many parts of me that felt like, oh my God, I'm not being chosen, right? Oh my God, this is kind of reminding me of the time that a boy like left me to go to another girl's house or whatever. Because a lot of these things happen where we're in that time of our life where we are developing that sense of self. We are learning who we are. We are learning where we sit kind of in the hierarchy, right? And, for many of us girls, in comes the lover who just screws it all up before we've even kind of developed who we are. And believe it or not, there's still, definitely believe it, there's people that are navigating this still, and feeling almost like they are 16-year-olds navigating situationships, navigating a guy not calling, whatever. It's for all of us, right? This is all of us. It will bring up all of those wounds that we remember what it was like to not be chosen, right? Or for somebody to be better than us. And this is really, really harmful. All right, we're doing great. This episode might go a little bit over, but I think that's okay. I think we're all here for the vibe. I have not taken a single breath since I started this episode 25 minutes ago. So let's dive into the three steps, the three kind of concepts. And I am going to kind of dive into each, but I also know that I will be creating individual episodes for each thing because as standalones, these are really powerful concepts. And I feel like if we prioritize them in general in our lives would all go a little bit more smoothly. So the first step, first thing, whatever we want to call it, is developing a strong self concept, right? So when we're talking about we're looking for that external validation, we're walking in, we're like immediately feeling smaller than, all of our inadequacies are popping up, we're feeling all of the things. When we work on developing a self concept and this energy, oftentimes right now in the pop space, it's called the self concept energy, but main character energy, really, right? Like this energy of like walking in, the stories about you, whatever. Developing a strong self concept is essentially knowing you're walking into that party being like, I'm a hot shit, or like I'm beautiful, or I feel like, or like I'm going to go dance and I'm going to enjoy it. Like this, making this like, I am somebody who enjoys dancing. I am somebody who is the life of the party. I am somebody who naturally, people gravitate towards because of my energy. Like all of these beliefs that really shift and change the experience of walking in. Like, I am beautiful in my own way, right? Like these women are beautiful and I am beautiful. Like knowing, and repeating these ideas about yourself that, allow you to walk into life, into an experience and actually enjoy it, right? Um, so the first is really developing a self-concept. And like I said, like the main character energy, this idea of creating a whole kind of plot line around the experience of life for you is something that I want to create an entire episode on because there's so much goodness there, right? We're going to talk about being it, developing it, etc. But also knowing that this is going to help shift however you're showing up and operating in the world, right? If you are showing up posting content and you know yourself to be like a creative person, good at what you do, right? Knowing that you are going to call in exactly who you're meant to call in because it's what you do. It's inevitable. Success is inevitable. Like shifting your energy into this certainty, into this confidence, into I am a confident person. This is going to shift your experience. Number two is detaching from the outcome. So something that I started doing very early on, the moment that I started feeling those little monsters creep up around walking into a party and feeling like not chosen and all the things, is I learned to detach. And I did this in my business as well. I learned to detach completely. And I decided I'm going to walk into this party and I'm going to call in whoever I'm meant to call in. Okay. I am absolutely detached from the outcome of this. I know that anyone I meet tonight, I was destined to meet. And everything else is I'm here for the ride, the experience, whatever, the joy of it, right? So detaching from this external validation or this need to feel like, everything you believe yourself to be needs to be confirmed by this external world, detaching from the outcome. Same thing with your clients. Like, one of the biggest things that shifted my success in business was the concept of soul contracts. I believe that if we're meant to work together, we're going to work together. There's no ifs and buts about it. Like, I genuinely believe it. Might not be today, might be next week, might not be this program, might be this program. And I shifted this energy, and it was so like, the frequency was so certain because I really believed this that when I put something out, when I started a new program, I was detached from who would sign up for it because I knew that everyone that was destined to go through the experience would. Now, obviously, if you are putting something out and you're, comparing it to what other people are putting out and you're, looking at the success of something or the failure of something, you're going to spiral into these feelings of inadequacies versus experiencing it from a place of trusting that your people are going to find you. And there is so much success on the other side of this energy. We will talk about it for episodes to come because it is such a valuable perspective to have. And I've been called, not to toot my own horn, but the queen of detachment. It's a really great gift and it allows me to move through life feeling fucking free. And it's a big deal. I'm proud of it. The last one is fulfillment. All right. Fill your life up with goodness, relationships, divinity, self connection, and fun so that you're not constantly seeking it elsewhere, seeking it outside of yourself. When I find myself looking outside, right? Whether it's what other people are doing, what other people look like, whatever, that just means that I am completely disconnected from my own life. And there's an emptiness in my life that I am looking to fill, right? I'm looking to basically fill with everything outside of myself, which is like such a dangerous, toxic loop, right? Because again, it is a thirst that cannot be quenched. And so, what I know to be true is that anytime that I'm deeply connected with myself, with my essence, with my spiritual connection. My health is next level. This is why the when in doubt get hot episode is probably now the most listened to episode on the show. Because when I'm focusing on me, everything else falls into place. But it falls into place because I'm not out there looking for it. It comes to me because there's an essence of magnetism around the stability of knowing that you are fulfilled with what's already in your life, the relationships, the friendships, right? Like you have wonderful people that reflect back. You have great sisterhood, great friends that reflect back. What an incredible person you are. You have clients that are reflecting back, how powerfully you shifted, their experience. Even if you haven't made a sale yet, that one message you got from the random person, the one person that watched your reel or whatever and shared with you how powerful it was, or read your Substack, or read your post, or whatever, listen to your podcast, and how it changed your life. Focus on being filled by that. Focus on the nourishment of that, the connection to that. Let that fill your cup so that you're not necessarily having to go seek it elsewhere. But it also, and most importantly, starts with the connection that you have with yourself. So if you haven't listened to the last episode on the most important relationship ever in your life, go listen to that. But essentially are you prioritizing yourself? Are you having nourishing, non-toxic relationships in your life? Do you have a spiritual or religious practice? Are you connected to something outside of yourself? Is your life filled with incredible things that you get to tell stories about? Are you practicing hobbies? Are you reading? Are you consuming content that makes you a better person? Trust me when I say, when your energy and your focus goes there and the essence of you emerges, you are not interested in what the outside world has to say about you, whether it's opinions or by comparison. And that is the magic of the self and the connection to self. All right. So I hope today's episode was exactly what you needed. It's been fun talking about it. I feel like we're going to talk about it much more. And I will see you in the next episode of the show.